This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know, www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Welcome to Morning Mindset, where we're reading a few pages of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich and then discussing them. Today we're reading pages 143 to 147, and I'm ready to get started. So let's do that, shall we? Beginning on page 143, halfway down. There is but one dependable method of accumulating and legally holding riches, and that is by rendering useful service. No system has ever been created by which men can legally acquire riches through mere force of numbers, or without giving in return an equivalent value of one form or another. There is a principle known as the law of economics. This is more than a theory. It is a law no man can beat. Mark well the name of the principle and remember it, because it is far more powerful than all the politicians and political machines. It is above and beyond the control of all the labor unions. It cannot be swayed, nor influenced, nor bribed by racketeers or self-appointed leaders in any calling. Moreover, it has an all-seeing eye and a perfect system of bookkeeping, in which it keeps an accurate account of the transactions of every human being engaged in the business of trying to get without giving. Sooner or later, its auditors come around, look over the records of individuals, both great and small, and demand an accounting. Wall Street, big business, capital predatory interests, whatever you choose to name the system which has given us American freedom, represents a group of men who understand, respect, and adapt themselves to this powerful law of economics. Their financial continuation depends upon their respecting the law. Most people living in America like this country, its capitalistic system and all. I must confess I know of no better country where one may find greater opportunities to accumulate riches. Judging by their acts and deeds, there are some in this country who do not like it. That, of course, is their privilege. If they do not like this country, its capitalistic system, its boundless opportunities, they have the privilege of clearing out. Always there are other countries, such as Germany, Russia, Italy, where one may try one's hand at enjoying freedom and accumulating riches, providing one is not too particular. America provides all the freedom, all the opportunity to accumulate riches that any honest person may require. When one goes hunting for game, one selects hunting grounds where game is plentiful. When seeking riches, the same rule would naturally obtain. If it is riches you are seeking, do not overlook the possibilities of a country whose citizens are so rich that women alone spend over $200 million annually for lipstick, rouge, and cosmetics. Think twice, you who are seeking riches, before trying to destroy the capitalistic system of a country whose citizens spend over $50 million a year for greeting cards, with which to express their appreciation of their freedom. If it is money you are seeking, consider carefully a country that spends hundreds of millions of dollars annually for cigarettes, the bulk of the income from which goes to only 4 major companies engaged in supplying this national builder of nonchalance and quiet nerves. By all means, give plenty of consideration to a country whose people spend annually more than $15 million for the privilege of seeing movie pictures, and toss in a few additional millions for liquor, narcotics, and other less potent soft drinks and giggle waters. Do not be in too big a hurry to get away from a country whose people willingly, even eagerly, hand over millions of dollars annually for football, baseball, prize fights. And by all means, stick by a country whose inhabitants give up more than $1 million a year for chewing gum and another $1 million for safety razor blades. Remember also that this is but the beginning of the available sources for the accumulation of wealth. Only a few of the luxuries and non-essentials have been mentioned. But remember that the business of producing, transporting, marketing these few items of merchandise gives regular employment to many millions of men and women who receive for their services many millions of dollars monthly and spend it freely for both the luxuries and the necessities. Especially remember that back of all this exchange of merchandise and personal services may be found an abundance of opportunity to accumulate riches. Here our American freedom comes to one's aid, there is nothing to stop you or anyone from engaging in any portion of the effort necessary to carry on these businesses. If one has superior talent, training, experience, one may accumulate riches in large amounts. Those not so fortunate may accumulate smaller amounts. Anyone may earn a living in return for a very nominal amount of labor. So, there you are. Opportunity has spread its wares before you. Step up to the front, select what you want, create your plan, put the plan into action, follow through with persistence. Capitalistic America will do the rest. You can depend upon this much. Capitalistic America ensures every person the opportunity to render useful service and to collect riches in proportion to the value of the service. The system denies no one this right, but it does not and cannot promise something for nothing, because the system itself is irrevocably controlled by the law of economics, which neither recognizes nor tolerates for long getting without giving. The law of economics was passed by nature. There is no Supreme Court to which violators of this law may appeal. The law hands out both penalties for its violation and appropriate rewards for its observance, without interference or the possibility of interference by any human being. The law cannot be repealed. It is as fixed as the stars in the heavens and subject to and a part of the same system that controls the stars. May one refuse to adapt oneself to the law of economics? Well, certainly. This is a free country where all men are born with equal rights, including the privilege of ignoring the law of economics. What happens then? Well, nothing happens until large numbers of men join forces for the avowed purpose of ignoring the law and taking what they want by force. Then comes the dictator, with well-organized firing squads and machine guns. We have not yet reached that stage in America, but we have heard all we want to know about how the system works. Perhaps we shall be fortunate enough not to demand personal knowledge of so gruesome a reality. Doubtless, we shall prefer to continue with our freedom of speech, freedom of deed, freedom to render useful service in return for riches. The practice by government officials of extending to men and women the privilege of raiding the public treasury in return for votes sometimes results in election, but as night follows day, the final payoff comes, when every penny wrongfully used must be repaid with compound interest on compound interest. If those who make the grab are not forced to repay, the burden falls on their children and their children's children, even unto the third and fourth generations. There is no way to avoid the debt. Men can, and sometimes do, form themselves into groups for the purpose of crowding wages up and working hours down. There is a point beyond which they cannot go. It is the point at which the law of economics steps in, and the sheriff gets both the employer and the employees. For 6 years, from 1929 to 1935, the people of America, both rich and poor, barely missed seeing the old man economics hand over to the sheriff all the businesses, industries, and banks. It was not a pretty sight. It did not increase our respect for mob psychology, through which men cast reason to the winds and start trying to get without giving. We who went through those 6 discouraging years when fear was in the saddle, faith was on the ground, cannot forget how ruthlessly the law of economics exacted its toll from both rich and poor, weak and strong, old and young. We shall not wish to go through another such experience. These observations are not founded upon short-time experience. They are the result of 25 years of careful analysis of the methods of both the most successful and the most unsuccessful men America has known. Wow. And that's where I am going to stop and open the room for discussion. Hit a seat if you're interested in talking about what I just read, what popped out at you, what agree with, disagree with, you recognize today, what can we take away? Good morning, What can we take away to make today a little bit better? For those who don't have a copy of the book, there's a PDF. Feel free to peruse, scan, whatever you would like to do to get up to speed. or as I like to do sometimes during the discussion, is let's look at all the capitalized words used for emphasis, not shouting. Yes, Brian, love the history. And Chuck, I don't know what giggle waters are. That if we, go look it up and come back and tell us. It gave me a giggle as I was saying it. Remembering the times that this book was written is fascinating. I can say this, even as I was reading, the millions that are spent on cosmetics, of course, we can replace all the M's with B's of everything that he put up there. How many billions are spent on entertainment? How many billions are spent on sticks of gum and razor blades, right? Let's put that in the B, and that helps me to put it in perspective once again, that if I have a good product or a good service and I have a price set on that, there are people that will buy it. Now, how long I can do that is dependent on the quality of product or service I'm offering. And remember back earlier in one of the readings on the spirit with which I render that service. So are people happy to be working with me? This is what's going through my head as I'm reading all that. Money's there. Money's not a problem. It's available. It's there. So I want to say good morning to all those that have joined. We have Sean Murphy, Sean Michael. Good to see you. So a giggle water is a different type of alcohol. Maybe it's wine. Oh, goodness. Good morning, Alex. Good to have you with us. And we have Tony. Good to see you here. Good morning, Johan. And of course, good to see you, Ron. Glad you're back with us. Ian, Brian. Welcome, everybody. And welcome, Dee of D Hill. All right, so seat is open for anybody who wants to discuss pieces, parts, what jumped out at you, what you're thinking now, what you were thinking as the reading occurred. So I covered, well, how about, for me, the majority of this is based on what he's calling the law of economics. You cannot take or get without giving. I cannot get riches without giving quality product, quality service, good spirit with which it's rendered. Tony, that's cool. Hang out on the side. Unless you have something you want to offer into the conversation on live stream. If you have comments or something you'd like to say regarding our reading, you're welcome to join the seat. Diana, welcome. Good to have you with us. Brian, good to see you as the red ball. Let's see, abundance versus scarcity mindset. Okay. Richard, good to see you here. Welcome. Abundance versus scarcity mindset. I could see that in what was read. I think so. If I come to that reading with a scarcity mindset, I'm one of those that really, really doesn't like the capitalistic society I currently live in. Because there's just not enough and things have to change. Capitalism isn't going to work. And I really, really like Napoleon Hill's response to that mindset, which is, it is your privilege. If you don't like this country, its capitalistic system, its boundless opportunities, you have the privilege of clearing out. There are other countries out there waiting for you and what you're looking for. Yes. Yes, that's worthy of a baboon, Chuck. That is worthy of a boom. I'm going to get you on here so you can give us the sound effects with that. Good morning, huh? Let's let Alex in.
Good morning, Charlene.
So good to see you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. Hello, Alex. Good to have you with us.
Hi there. Yeah, good to see you. How are you this morning?
Hi,
Doing
Alex.
well. Well, look, we're going to have a full room. And then we get Ron in. Let me say a quick hello to Ron. Glad to see you again.
Hi, Ron.
So, did you have some things you wanted to share with us?
Yes, I do. The law of economics or the law of life in nature, there are no free lunch. Because like you said, a level of success the question is how much you want to give. Because that is the way of life, you always an exchange, with in the monetary money exchange or the effort or the labors. And I in awe every time that I read it or hearing you reading it, because what have almost maybe about 70 years ago. And it's still just like applied today, just like somebody that have published it yesterday.
Yes, it is. It's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, it is just so amazing, and that's why I'm looking into it. That the sooner you recognize that there's no free lunch and whatever you want, the question is how willing will you want to pay or to work for.
I like that. Thank you, Ha. Alex, did you have something you wanted to share with us?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm a Brit and I live in France, and I listened to the reading this morning, and it talked a lot about the US and the opportunities in the US, and I've never lived in the US, so it's hard for me to comment on the US. And obviously the book was written a little while ago, so there are many different ways of looking at this. Is that as relevant as it was then when it was written? Or are there also opportunities anywhere you are in the world? And of course, I believe that there are opportunities wherever you are in the world. And no matter what you're doing, those opportunities exist. And in fact, in some senses, I would say that, what the internet has enabled for us is to pursue those opportunities and to pursue those passions in a way that perhaps we weren't able to do 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago, even 10 years ago. Even half a year ago, we weren't able to have this conversation and talk about what Napoleon Hill is saying. So I hear what he said about where the world was, and to some extent I challenge it, because I don't think it's driven anymore by the culture in which you live. I think it's driven by the culture which you have within yourself, the skills, the desire, the passion. And that brings me to the second point, which I think is something you were just picking up there, which I would summarize as the how, not the what. It doesn't matter actually what product you produce. All that matters in a sense is how you go about talking about that and how you go about sharing that with people. And what I love about Twitter and what I love about your show, Charlene, is that you give. You are constantly giving to other people. And that's what I observe on Blab, is it is a place for people to give and to share freely of their skills and their unique gifts. And that to me is a manifestation of what Napoleon Hill was talking about all those years ago. So I would challenge him today on one level and say, I don't think it's just the US. If I did, then I wouldn't be here. And on another level, totally agree with him. It's how we do it. It's how we put together our products and services, and how much we're willing to give freely of ourselves, as you do every single day. I mean, there you were only 5 minutes ago, asking people to jump on. And then suddenly, here are three of us. Now, you had to do that 3, 4, 5, 6 times to constantly come from that space so that we were able to do that. And personally, I really appreciated that. So thank you for welcoming me on, and thank you for everything you've shared, not only today, but on every other day that you've turned up and showed yourself on this platform.
Thank you, Alex. Interesting points. Ron?
Yeah, and want to say the same thing as Alex, in that I really appreciate you having this time for us and going over Think and Grow Rich, Charlene. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I think a couple of things, and one of the things that Alex talked about is it's not just the United States, but it really is around the world, because we're talking about universal principles and that they can't be changed. And so there's ways that you can go about how you get through those principles, but the principles are, and they just are. I think the one thing that stood out for me this morning was almost talking about the inheritance, and where it's what we do today is going to affect the generations that follow, and those can be in a positive way or in a negative way. And it's not just financial, but it's also our mindset. It can be about the money, but it's also about our spirit, and everything that we do. And everything that we do today is going to affect our children. It's going to affect our grandchildren and their children and their grandchildren. And so that's pretty much what I got out of it. And also, again, I want to reiterate what Alex said again. I appreciate your servant leadership and putting this together.
Oh, you're too kind. Thank you. So we have Hao saying that you can't get something without giving something in return, whether it's money or services or labor, or you're sacrificing a level of comfort to get something for free. There is a transaction that occurs. You have to give something. Nothing happens. You get nothing for free, right? And then Alex saying that we've changed in terms of being a more global opportunities available rather than just really the focus on America. And then we have Ron saying that what you're hearing and what you brought to the table, what you got out of the reading to this point, is that what we do now leaves something behind, good or bad. Somebody behind us is going to be affected by it. And I got a lot out of the reading very similar. I will challenge Alex only to say that regardless of the time, the 500 or so people, good and bad, when it comes to business and making money, that Napoleon Hill interviewed, analyzed, and put into those principles into this book, were essentially from America. And that's the idea I get from it. And he's saying that where we are in this country is this capitalistic system. Today, 70, 80 years later, there are other countries that have put into place something similar, trying to mimic America. But I wonder if the same opportunity for great wealth and riches is available in those newer to the capitalistic system as they are here. I just wonder. I have no intentions of moving. I happen to be in the U.S. I like the U.S. I like that if we really, really don't like something, we can affect change in a nonviolent way. So,
would you like me to respond to that?
Yes, yeah, go ahead. And it wasn't a challenge; it was just.
No, I know,
okay,
and I took it
just
as
sharing the thoughts as I was coming through.
Yeah, sure, and I genuinely took it as an observation.
Good.
You know, I'm no expert here, but so let me just share my perspective. My perspective is that yes, I think the rest of the world, you know, particularly the UK, which is where I'm from, has integrated, you know, capitalism. You look at the banking world, the center of banking is in London, or one of the major centers globally is in London. And, you know, that's driven the market in London for many, many years, driven property prices up massively. We're finding that many Russians are now coming to London because they're finding it a better place to live, although, in fact, more recently they've started to disappear. You know, each country has interpreted the capitalist mindset in its own different way. Here am I sitting in France, and France, as we know, is a more socialist mindset where the unions are still incredibly strong. But I sit just across the border from Switzerland, where many of the clients that I work with when I do my work around creativity are based. And that is interestingly a fusion of a capitalist mindset and a kind of more socialist mindset. So there are different variations and variants on how an opportunity to think and grow rich has translated across the world. And I don't claim to have, you know, the knowledge on all of them, but I think there are different ways of doing it. And what does wealth mean? What does richness mean when Napoleon Hill talks about it? Does he just mean financial wealth, or does he also mean health? Does he also mean happiness? Does he also mean inner peace? And so I would look at that then through those different cultures and say that maybe different cultures see that in a different way and value different things. And so that would be kind of a question in a sense back to you, how you read the word, you know, rich when he uses that term. Is he talking a financial richness, or is he talking a mindset, an inner peace, which does then manifest as potentially as money? What's your feeling on that?
Well, your last statement is what I was going to say, is that what he's teaching through the book, and what's striking me throughout the entire readings to this point, all 147 pages, is that, well, and considering we only have 100 pages left to go, so we're halfway there, is that the principles with which he's saying you need to have personally in place are that which will get you great riches in dollars, and you will be able to handle it, is basically what it boils down to. So you're preparing yourself to grow personally, grow financially to a point where you have great riches internally with the changes you've made in your personal development journey, and the end result, because it's based on your desire, the plan, the ultimate purpose, what you've got out there. When you reach that or attain it, then you'll also have great riches in terms of dollars, which essentially is great wealth, because along the way you're learning how to manage those dollars and manage the monies that are coming through. But it doesn't happen, and it doesn't happen quickly, and it doesn't stay for long if you haven't got these other things in place. That's what I'm learning from this book.
Now,
Okay.
I come from Vietnam, and let me tell you, no other place like in America. And that is the place for me, because I know, I see the difference. And in this country, if you're willing to work hard for what you want, and you know, you determined to get to where you needed to, and if you're willing to give, you're willing to sacrifice, you more likely will get there. And riches, just like success, that depend on how you define it. You know, the level of success or the level of riches, that's how you you have the mindset, you have the determined, you have the definition of whatever the amount is, or the lifestyle is, and then whatever that is. And that, to me, that's what he's talking about. You know, not so much about in terms of money, not in terms of
Opportunities then.
opportunity. And
Okay.
you know, and sometimes people, you know, like Charlene and I, you know, everybody, if we said, okay, we want to have $100 million, okay, that $100 million is okay. But if you have the mindset that you want to create a lifestyle, you have a goal to set up a lifestyle, and that's what you pursue, and I think more likely you will be a happy when you get there person, when you get there.
So again, I love the way you just said that, Ha, because I wasn't thinking quite like that. I was thinking that the preparations of applying these principles in my personal journey towards that dollar amount that I want really are a part of creating the lifestyle that I want with that dollar amount,
Mm-hmm.
and making me a better person to have that dollar amount.
Mm-hmm.
I like the way that you said that. All right, so I need to know, Ron, are you still in the room?
May I get off, because I have I will listen in.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, don't leave. Don't leave. Okay. Ron, are you still in the room? I'm hearing background noise out of seat number 3. Are you, Alex?
I'm not actually. I can't hear Ron at all. He seems to have disappeared. I think he dropped off when I was talking a little bit about France.
I thought he had,
which I can understand.
Oh well,
I live here.
We're not going to take that personally. I said thanks for being in the discussion round, and then I'm hearing a lot of movement in seat number 3, and so just wanted to make sure that if he's still there, my goodness, refresh so that you can come back on screen, because you're not on screen. I thought you had left, but we do have empty seats. So if somebody wants to join the discussion with me and Alex about the reading, please do. Let's see here. What else have we got? What do you think of the law of economics, Alex? The way that he's got it pretty much laid out.
I regret to say I didn't hear the full reading. And maybe you can just kind of explain it in your words, the way you understand it, and then I'll respond to that question.
The law of economics was passed by nature, is what he says. Essentially, you cannot get without giving. There are consequences. You just simply, something for nothing really doesn't exist, because the law of economics will render payment.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that strikes me in that. Yes, the more you give, the more you get. And it starts with giving. It doesn't start with getting. It starts with giving. And yet the mindset that we are led to believe, or at least the culture, certainly coming out of the UK, and I think it's a relatively global perception, is that you can get. But what he's saying is give. And actually I heard a brilliant story from a very good friend of mine a few weeks ago. And he said to me, there was this homeless man, and I can't remember which city it was in the US. And apparently every year he would clear people's drives when it snowed. So he would literally go and do it, and he'd do it for free. And he'd clear their drives, and he asked for nothing. And then one day somebody said to him, I really think you ought to ask for something. And so he started, and he said, look, if you'd like to, consider paying me for what I've done, then feel free, but just make a contribution. And so people started to do that. Now, over time, he ended up creating an organization of homeless people who were clearing drives. And he did that on the back of people giving money and giving contributions just because he was shoveling snow. And so the summary of that is shovel, shovel, shovel before you reap. Which I think is a lovely way of looking at it. So shovel before you reap. And the second thing that I picked up in what you just said there is that this is a natural law. Mm-hmm. And to me, nature is really, really critical to everything I do. That I go out and paint in extreme places all over the world. And I do that because it's easier for me to get in touch with myself, to go inside myself and feel that inner creativity. And in truth, actually, I'm not really painting what's there. I'm painting what I'm feeling in that moment by being there. It's just that the environment I put myself in is creating the space in which I can feel myself more clearly than if I'm in a big city. Now, I know some people love cities, and I'm not here to criticize cities at all. But for me, nature brings me that. And that's why I live in the countryside, surrounded by fields, and I do that. So when you say natural, natural law, yes, I believe it is a natural law. Give, or in this case, as I just said, shovel, 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 shovel before you reap. And I see that this very platform that we're on today, and that I've seen you on for the last month, where you have been using Blab to give, is exactly that law of economics that you just talked about.
Well, I can say, honestly, that in the past month or so that I've been doing this, I have gotten a lot in terms of internal riches and rewards. Meeting you, Alex, expressing yourself just as you did was wonderful. Thank you. I take it to heart when somebody sincerely shares a viewpoint or an experience. And I can honestly say that the past month has been pretty darn terrific. And I've grown myself because of the interactions. And I'm grateful for that. I thank you for that. Yes.
Let me just share an observation on that very quickly. I've seen you grow since I first met you. I've actually seen you grow since I first met you. There's an inner confidence that I feel, and it's not that you weren't confident before, but I feel there's more confidence coming from you, and there's a different kind of energy that you put into the group. And personally, I find that remarkable. And it's only 10 days, 15 days since you and I met for the first time.
That'd be about right, if that much.
If that much. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you can see the positive.
Sure. Somebody's phoning me, so
ouch.
Sorry.
Thank you, Sean. That's good to know. We never really know for sure what people think or see or anything like that. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. All right, now you're going to see what happens when Charlene says "ouch."
Yes. Sorry about that, Charlene. That's
okay.
Unfortunately that's something that is global, and that would have been a direct call center somewhere.
Oh
in
no,
France.
that was I had a haircut. I'm sorry. The ouch was I have a haircut and it hurt. Sorry, it was nothing to you, Alex. How's that for timing?
I thought it was me taking this phone and passing it past my my microphone, and it being so loud in your ear.
Well, it was initially, but when I moved, this is what happened. It was initially, and then I moved it. I said, ow. Got plenty of hair, so I can lose one or two there when, and I'm grateful for that. I've got plenty there. Yeah, it was, sorry for the derailment. Let's get back on track, shall we?
So tell me, when you listen to that and when you read it, what do you take out of that, natural law of economics? Does it resonate with you?
Absolutely, it does. If from the very basic of let's get off grid and go into the woods, you can't just sit, right? Yeah, I mean, if I'm sitting out in the middle of the woods expecting to experience great, wonderful things over the next 10 days and just sit, I'm not going to last more than a day because I need to get up and go get the water. I need to get up and hunt the food. I need to cut down the trees to build my shelter. I need to keep the shelter clean. I need to have a latrine nearby. I need to do things in form of physical labor to create the setting that will allow me to enjoy the next 30 days. The same thing applies when I'm dealing with people. I can't get anything from you or anybody else until I give something or in exchange for something. You may give me something first, but if I continue the exchange, I'm giving something back. So I can't just sit and do nothing and expect great things to happen or anything really to happen. So whether it is in a big city or I'm sitting in my preferred spot, which is in the middle of the woods in the cabin or the really nice RV with my husband, it's that things still have to happen. There's exchanges, and it doesn't have to be money. It is just that the law of economics says if you're going to get one thing, you have to give something for it. That's the way I took it.
Very clear.
Chuck, you made it on. Oh my goodness, where are you? You guitar man, you. We have a hidden rock and roller in our midst here.
Actually, can you hear me today?
Yeah. Yes, we can hear you today.
I'm actually in my son's little audio video room, so
okay.
I got all kinds of stuff.
You're not the
screen, lights, and everything. So
you're not the rock star in hiding.
No, he's the hiding rock star.
Okay.
This is an interesting discussion because I think there are misperceptions about the majority of Americans, and I think that the media does a great job at vilifying success. There's only there's less than 400 billionaires in a country of 1.3 billion people. And earlier another place in the book, he talks about value and delivering more value for the cost. The dollar spent. And I think that's what Charlene pretty much has said all along. And I think it's important to know that you're not profiting, you're not moving up by taking other people down on purpose. You're providing a service to enhance their lives. I don't want to misconstrue that as I'm getting rich, so there's people, that are poor because I'm getting wealthier or getting more successful. To use the term rich again actually has a negative connotation at times, because in the U.S. it implies or that you've done something underhanded or not so sincere to be profitable. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes. Living here, I hear it a lot. Actually, in all honesty, I will share that living in the area that I live in, I said it a long time ago. So you may not have heard this, Alex. I live in what's called a $12 an hour town. And that means that the general consensus of the workers here is that $12 an hour is perfectly acceptable. Why would you want more? It may have gone up a little bit to $15 an hour or to $14, but it doesn't matter. That's the limit. There's no reason to go any further because that's all you need. And
isn't it interesting?
You need to be
Charlene,
perfectly happy with that. And if you show drive, ambition, desire for more, you're vilified because, see, you're selfish and you're greedy. You're told that. Not kidding. Been in conversations like that and tried and quietly just said, there's a different way to think about that. And when the pushback's too hard, I walk away. So.
Sure. So it's I find that fascinating. I was having a conversation the other day with actually on Blab with a brilliant girl from New Zealand and another girl from the Netherlands or Germany. And we were talking about exactly this point. And to Chuck, your point, it's amazing how easy it is to vilify the US. And I that's really not my intention at all. But we do that very easily.
We do it to ourselves here.
Outside of the US. And we were talking about tall poppy syndrome, that idea that if you get bigger than everyone else, people will cut you down because, why did you deserve to be wealthy? What did you do? And
exactly.
And the perception, and I repeat that word, the perception outside the US is that is more acceptable inside the US than it is in most other cultures in the world. Or at least that's my perception that I've heard. And so it's fascinating for me to hear both of you, both Charlene and you, Chuck, talk about another perception. I'd never heard the $12 town. I have heard, or $12 an hour town, I have heard of the enormous challenges that cities in the US are facing, particularly given the financial crisis and everything that came after that. But I don't pretend to understand that, and I really don't pretend to be an expert on it.
That's an entirely different thing. And the other thing, the absolute beauty of living in this country is that if I want to, I can move. And we've done that. There is a reason we're living here. I am not stuck here. There is a reason we're living here a little bit longer. There's a plan in place to get out. But we moved here intentionally, and we moved away from here intentionally, and moved away from other places intentionally. So I can go 2 hours north to Indianapolis, Indiana, and revel in the drive and ambition of a group of people on the northeast side of town, because that's what they're about. And they're generous, and they're wealthy, and they're happy, and they're doing things to better their communities and what have you. I can drive 4 hours south to Nashville, Tennessee, and see the same thing, a little bit larger city. I can go west and I can go east. I can drive thousands of miles around this country, and there will be pockets of communities that I'll be attracted to, which is why I want to do this. I want to be in that RV. So when I say that where I live now is a $12 an hour mentality, it has always been this way. It has been a blue collar area since the beginning. It's a river town. The white collar area was always an hour and a half away, and it's been that since the beginning. I lived here in the 80s, and it was that mentality. Why you want to go to college? Why do you even want to? I was part of the elite because I went to a private high school. It was automatic. You must be rich. Therefore, we won't talk to you. Therefore, you won't understand what we're interested in. We're not people. That's the way you're treated when you're viewed that way. You're not people. And that's the worst of it. That's the worst of it when we have a perception of somebody else based on external things. So what I love about this reading is that he doesn't talk about that. He talks about, the vilification, but what he was really pointing out is that the law of economics says, as a person, if you have these principles and understand that you can't get without giving, that it has to do with you being better so that you can get more. And that if you're in the U.S., and I do believe this, that because I'm in the U.S., I have opportunities available to me. And it's my responsibility to look for those opportunities. So I get a great hope out of what was read. Just wanted to
and I think the only counterpoint I'm making is that to me,
Mm-hmm.
where I am, there are opportunities all over the world.
Okay.
Everyone today has opportunities, and
Yes.
while I think
Okay.
that the US has created a culture where opportunities are perhaps easier to take, and that may explain one of the reasons why technologies like Blab and Periscope and Meerkat and the others primarily came out of the US. Try and name a technology that came out of Europe. Skype. It's about it. Yeah? Skype and Nokia phones. Right.
Okay.
And, we're not on
Right.
Skype.
Innovation. So it is a culture. And I guess it would be related to being a capitalistic system. Am I right? I don't know. I'm just guessing on this. That the innovation is there, that there's opportunities to gather, like with us gathering in person. But again, that is, honestly, it's a U.S. thing overall. What I was pointing out is that I'm in a town of, listen, they think they have 1 million people in there, or 700,000 or more as their population, but that's because they take into account 3 counties across the river so that they could call themselves a metro area. There's actually only like 200,000 people or 250,000 in the city itself.
I think that there's the title of the book, Think and Grow Rich. For me, I think a lot of the book is not about absolute dollars and cents. I think that somebody can be rich without being a millionaire or billionaire. Alex is an artist, obviously. You're an artist, you travel around and what you paint, and there's obviously a value in that because nobody's, well, as far as I know, has thrown you in jail for too long of a time, or you've got a great internet connection from your jail cell. But you can be rich in that way. I have a friend who happens to be, my best friend is a college soccer coach, and he does not make a lot of money, but I envy his lifestyle because to me, he's kind of the vision of success. So he's not a wealthy guy, and he can support his wife and his family, and he doesn't live an extravagant lifestyle, but he's happy. And I think that there's plenty of opportunity anywhere for you to get your riches as long as you follow this law, which is give, give without getting, and you will get at some point, and just be persistent and hardworking. And I think, and never give up, and you will. Right. You'll certainly find
I can go with that, Chuck. Thank you. Yes. We're the ones that are going to define what rich is. I'm not putting a dollar amount on anybody else's goals or aspirations or vocations or any desires that they have. That's up to the individual who is reading the book or participating in this discussion. I have a dollar amount in my mind. I am not there yet. I still have gaps, of which when I read from the book, I'm recognizing some of those gaps and doing even yesterday I did it. I said, I thought I took care of that. Darn, the work is not done. Surprise.
The work is infinite, Sharon.
Yeah,
it goes on forever.
I'd really want somebody to tell me that once I get something, it's going to stay there.
No,
Nobody's
it's
told
never
me
going to
that
stay
yet.
there.
I know.
It's never going to stay there. I remember painting a few years ago, and I was it was first snow. It was in the Alps, and I went to my favorite place to paint. It's a place called Le Grave, and they don't have ski slopes there. They just have, it's all off piste, so it's all out of bounds, as you'd call it in North America. And I drove up the valley, and it was a track, you know, just stony track, and I parked the car and I walked up the mountain. And it took me an hour and a half to walk up because I was slipping so much because the snow was about this deep. And so I was slipping as I walked up, and I was carrying all my gear up there, and I was getting exhausted as I was walking up. And I knew that if I walked up there and then I started painting and I was frustrated, that would impact the painting. So exactly everything that, you know, Napoleon Hill has been talking about, that the energy you put back is the energy you get back. So I knew I had to keep myself in this space of creativity. So I get up there and I paint. But it's not only when I'm painting that I need to be in that space, it's also the space I need to be when I go back down the mountain. So it never actually stops. You always need to be in that space. And it doesn't stop when we think it stops. You know, when we get to the end, when life stops, there is no end to this.
I know. All right, Alex, you know, I'm still wrestling with that, my friend. There are still things that I say that should, the frustration of continuous personal development. Yes.
To me, that you're describing freedom, which Alex makes you the richest guy in the room, to be honest. Somebody who can be free like that, you end up being the richest guy in the room, because basically, you know, if something happens to me, my family is in peril tomorrow. Well, not so much, but still, there's going to be, and gosh, I wish I could, you know, go off piste and
out of bounds, right?
Come over, Chuck. I'll take you there. I'll take you there. We'll do it together.
Show up. I'm the type that would show up.
Yeah, right, do it. Seriously, man, come over. And just to finish off that thought, a coach who I immensely respect once said to me, you know, Alex, you're not searching for happiness. You're searching for peace. Uh-huh. And that really struck me. That's all we're ultimately searching for. And that, to me, is the richness. So when I read Think and Grow Rich, to me, the growth is in terms of peace. That's my wealth. Now, that's my interpretation of it for myself. And yes, you know, my intention is to give, because I do think I have some insights to share, particularly around creativity. So the offer's there. I've just started a show actually on Blab. Would love to get both of you on at some point. Charlene would love to get you on. And likewise with you, Chuck, would love to get you on.
Seat me?
Look, it's an invitation. There's no obligation there,
no,
and I know we're pretty much out of time.
I thought I'd seen where you had scheduled one. I thought I subscribed. I'll double check.
Okay.
But yes, we are at the top of the hour. Let me stop for the recording. I can stay for another I can stay for about an hour, actually, so we can keep the room open if anybody wants to continue the discussion. Okay. So I want to thank everybody for joining me on the live stream and joining us in the comments area, and for your comments. All have been appreciated. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. It's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Let's move forward with the day, shall we? On purpose, with purpose, to grow our hearts, grow our minds, and grow our businesses. So until next